Hello, this is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com. I want to play you something here. Listen to this. Do you know what that is? It's one of my very favorite pieces for solo and orchestra. It's Ernest Bloch's Suite for Viola and Orchestra, an absolutely magnificent concerto that never gets played in concert by anybody. It's a crime. It's a scandal. There is no greater masterpiece for viola and orchestra in the entire repertoire by anybody. Now, the part that I just played you is the finale, and it's really kind of astonishing, isn't it? Bloch had 3 or 4 styles, actually. He had the Jewish style for his Jewish style pieces, 2 of which are on this disc, by the way, the Baal Shem and the Suite Hebraïque. And then he had his sort of modernist acerbic chromatic style that you often hear in his chamber music, but also in pieces like, the Symphony in E flat and some other things. And he also had sort of the neoclassical style of the Concerti Grossi. He was a bit of a chameleon, and that stylistic eclecticism may be one of the reasons that he's probably, in my opinion, one of the most neglected of all of the 20th century composers, one of the most unfairly neglected of all of the 20th century composers, because make no mistake, he was a great one, and he wrote a collection of orchestral music that's simply magnificent and wonderful in its variety and scope and mastery, and this piece is one of them. I've heard every recording of this work in the orchestral version anyway, but I don't think there's any point in going through them all one at a time and making an issue, because there is no finer recording in the history of Blochism than this one. It's absolutely wonderful. It features the violist Hong-Mei Xiao, who is spectacular and who's also transcribed Baal Shem, which is originally for violin and orchestra, very sensitively and beautifully for violin and orchestra. And you've got conductor Marius Smolny with the Budapest Symphony Orchestra, MAV. I'm not even going for that one. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't make any difference. This Naxos recording is one of the great jewels of the Naxos catalog, at least in my opinion. And there is no finer recording of the Bloch suite. If you don't know it, you absolutely have to hear it. I love that finale. I love Bloch in his Chinese vein. There's the 4 episodes for chamber orchestra also has a last movement called Chinese. And there are a couple works where he goes there. And I always have to smile when I hear his Asian music, because my grandmother, who was just a delightful lady, always used to say she was into interior decorating, and her taste was, little old Jewish lady from the 1950s. I don't know how else to describe it. She had the living room that nobody could set foot in, and the furniture covered with plastic that nobody could sit on. And she always said, every room should have a touch of Chinese. And when I heard these pieces by Bloch, I had my grandmother in my ear saying to me, every piece of music should have a touch of Chinese. And you know that Bloch comes from exactly that same culture. I'll bet he had a living room with plastic on the furniture too. But, never mind. This is a wonderful, wonderful work. And let me turn this up right. And Hong-Mei Xiao is a sensational violist. The orchestra sounds great. The engineering is absolutely fantastic. If you love the viola, and if you want to hear one of the 2 or 3, the handful of truly great works for viola and orchestra, then you must have Bloch's suite for viola and orchestra. And this is the recording to get on Naxos. So keep on listening, folks. Thank you. Enjoy.